The EU wants outside countries to treat all of its members equally, but the EU doesn't even do that themselves. While the major goal of the EU is to create free travel between nations, something that enables far distance travel like driving from Portugal to Estonia without showing a passport, the EU and the Schengen area do not encompass the same countries. Sure, the Schengen actually incorporates 4 countries not in the EU into the borderless zone: Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. It also leaves out 4 countries: Ireland, Romania, Bulgaria, and Cyprus. Today, we'll be looking at those 4 left-out countries and see what are the implications of this predicament. First, to start, it's best to further split the 4 leftover countries into 2 categories. The first one, in a category of its own, is Ireland. Ireland, like the UK when it was in the EU, has never been in the Schengen. The main reason Ireland is not in Schengen, especially after the UK left the EU, is the Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement was put in place to end hostilities from the Troubles and required for the free movement of people along the Irish border. This has been a proven challenge for Ireland to maintain. They want to freely travel within the EU, but they can't violate this free movement and put up a hard border with the UK, so they're just stuck in limbo. As part of the Brexit negotiations, the UK has agreed to an elaborate system of goods checks in Northern Ireland to ensure the Good Friday Agreement can stand while still allowing for the free movement of people. But the overall takeaway here is that Ireland is likely not going to join the Schengen unless it becomes a unified island. For the other 3, it's quite different. Romania, Bulgaria, and Cyprus have all expressed interest in joining the Schengen, but have been left out for a multitude of reasons. Cyprus, the latest to apply in 2019, is perhaps the closest to accession, as no major EU state has expressed a desire to block its entry into the agreement. Romania and Bulgaria, on the other hand, have more challenges. Both the Netherlands and Austria have stated that they do not want Romania and Bulgaria to join. Some of the arguments for this include the amount of bribery allowed by border guards in the 2 countries, and existing difficulties with border security and curtailing undocumented or illegal immigration within Schengen in its current state. Romania and Bulgaria argue that they have followed the protocols needed to implement Schengen for over a decade, and the European Commission and Parliament have already declared that they are following all protocols correctly. Romania initially launched a boycott against Austria as rejection for the veto, and even proposed a solidarity tax on Austrian oil companies operating in Romania. This boycott, however, has been deprioritized and hasn't produced much results. Hungary has been continually lobbying Austria and the Netherlands this year to allow for Romania and Bulgaria to join the free movement bloc, but things are still in limbo. So what implications does this have for outside the EU? Well, certain nations, seeing that these EU countries are not in Schengen, implement harsher visa restrictions. In fact, Cyprus, Romania, and Bulgaria have some of the weakest passports in the EU, according to passportindex.org. While the EU has told other nations that it should apply the same visa requirements to every EU citizen, regardless of nationality, it's hard for them to be taken seriously when even internally they're not doing that. So for this, we are going to look at specific countries that have taken a cue from the EU's Schengen exclusion and have placed more visa restrictions on non-Schengen EU countries. The most prominent example is the United States, which allows all members of the EU, except Cyprus, Romania, and Bulgaria, to only need to fill out an online form and pay a small fee to travel for 3 months into the country. For Romania, Bulgaria, and Cyprus, they, like much of the rest of the world, need to go through the arduous task of applying for a U.S. tourist visa at their closest embassy. To add to the U.S., there are many other countries doing this. Thailand only offers the 3 Eastern non-Schengen countries 15 days of tourism without a visa, whereas the rest of the EU get 30 days. Jamaica requires Romania and Bulgaria to get a visa on arrival, while the rest of the EU can travel there without a visa. St. Vincent and the Grenadines only give the 3 non-Schengen states 30 days of tourism without a visa, whereas the rest of the EU get 90 days. There's also more examples of treating these 3 countries' passports worse in Bolivia, Eswatini, and Laos, the latter only making Bulgarians get a visa beforehand, for some reason. In Guyana, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Lesotho, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, and Vietnam, these 3 Eastern non-Schengen countries also face more visa scrutiny. Although many Eastern countries' citizens in the EU, like Poland or Hungary, face the same restrictions. In a bizarre twist of fate, however, the world does smile on Romania as the only EU country to get visa-free access to Togo and Tanzania, bizarrely, meaning Romanians don't have to be so down about their less powerful passport. So after all these examples, we can see just how much the lack of Schengen entry complicates and bifurcates visa policies for EU citizens traveling out of the continent. For a federation that is focused on uniting Europe, leaving out such countries from the Schengen has real impact and should be avoided as much as possible. So that's for this video. Make sure to comment down below whether you think Cyprus, Romania, and Ireland should be allowed into the Schengen or not. Alright, see you soon.